Hi, Philip Duff, President and Founder of Lighthouse Consulting. Welcome. Lighthouse Consulting does operational consulting for ARM agencies and law firms. We do Six Sigma process improvement. We also do strategic planning for CEOs and trying to help businesses to figure out where they're going and how to get there. And I also do CEO training and coaching. I hope you enjoy the presentation. When you have a need for any of these services, please think of Lighthouse Consulting.
So, how do we execute? There's always a challenge getting strategies turned into execution processes, or actually getting the execution done. Many companies I do consulting with have wonderful, great ideas, but they can never seem to make them happen. What's usually missing, I've been doing this so long, is some tools and methodologies that help you to execute, to help you to succeed. So we've all got an envisioned future of our business, our personal life, of a lot of different things. But the envisioned future of the business needs to include several parts. Financial, the way the staff perceives the business and where it's going. It needs to envision the executive team. In a lot of cases, you need to understand what the exit strategy for the business or the business owner may be. Any debt the business may or may not incur or be willing to incur, and what the perception of the business is of the client base. So what is strategic thinking? First of all, you need some good sound ideas. You need to then debate those ideas and look at the options that are available. Spend a few minutes, figure out what the pitfalls might be, what the advantages may be, what other options are available. And one of the most important things to look at is what your SWOT is. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Sound strategic thinking is fundamental to successful strategic execution because it stimulates dialogue and debate about what's important to the organization's long-term success. Many CEOs trap themselves and the executive teams. They fall into believing that sound strategic thinking means coming up with that one single right answer. But that's not it. It's not always one answer. It's very often not that. The key is to do the best strategic thinking that can be done at the time and then execute. Ultimately, strategic execution is about identifying the organization's top priorities. The 3 to 5 most important items are probably the best that they must accomplish over the next 3 years, during the current year, within the quarter, and maybe in the next few minutes. It's not uncommon to generate a lot of action items during these type of planning meetings and then to fail to prioritize which ones are important. This is what's very important to making sure that you have the right prioritize. Prioritizing requires tough discipline and facing the brutal facts about your business. Next, we've got to pick the team or teams. Most likely it's going to be more than one team because different tasks, different projects are going to require different teams. And then we start setting up the meetings weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. We have growth meetings and we have priority meetings. We need to make sure that everything continues to be prioritized. Much like a band, an executive team needs a rhythm and a rhythm to the meetings to become and stay aligned. A functional team rhythm meetings help the rest of the organization stay aligned. They do this by bringing the functional teams together into monthly, weekly, daily meetings to focus on supporting the accomplishment of the priorities established in the previous meetings to make sure that everything is moving forward and everyone is on board. This brings many people out of their comfort zone, but that's what has to be done to achieve success. So we should have a daily meeting, 10 to 15 minutes or so, same location every day, regimented time or times of the day. Share today's goals. What are we working on today? Identify any roadblocks that existed from yesterday, and do preventive maintenance. It's a time to solve problems before they happen. So the team should have weekly meetings. It should be 30 to 60 minutes long. They could talk about the most current initiatives and the status of those initiatives. Operational info, any changes on how we're going to do our operations. Numbers check, production versus goals. How are we doing so far this month? Results, and it should always be done with an agenda, a written document. You know, at these full day off-site sessions, the CEO and the executive team can assess how well they've accomplished their priorities for the quarter that just ended and establish a number one new priority and what else are the other priorities that need to be taken care of. The primary question of these sessions is based upon what we know today, what do we do tomorrow? You have to have the idea of how do we get to the envisioned future. At the annual meeting, the CEO and executive team should engage in some sound strategic thinking and see how their strategic thinking from the past has held up. They need to assess their long-term business assumptions and conduct a traditional SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, analysis of their current understanding of the marketplace and their true capabilities as a business. So what is strategic planning? Well, we need to create a strategic plan. First of all, we need to envision that future of where we want the business to be. But then we need to create that future, that plan, with a clear written plan that's shared with everyone in the company. We need to have a strategic execution plan of how we're going to get there. We need to prioritize that plan as to what's most important and is going to get us there the quickest. And we need to create assignments of which group, which team is going to take care of which strategic plan. And there has to be follow-up. There always has to be follow-up. The plan has to include the core values of the company, a understanding of what the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats are, what your brand promise is, what are you telling your customers you're going to always give them, and what value are you providing to them. You need a mission statement, and you need to have that envisioned future with a clear plan that everyone in the company can understand that envisioned future. To understand that envisioned future and want to be part of it because it is clear and it looks like the future. Then to execute that plan, you're going to need the right staff on the bus. You're going to need a strong culture in your business, very clear direction of where you're going, and good, solid teamwork. As you move along, there'll be bumps in the road. Get help from consultants, colleagues. Go to conferences, get training and coaching, read, and just never stop learning. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you learned something. If you need any further help with this, please contact me at Lighthouse Consulting.